All right, David, we've told the story. I think the thing that that struck both of us after going really deep in all the interviews and articles was like the amount of incredible quotes
Yeah.
coming from the team that were featured, whether it was Mike Cesario or Andy Pearson or whoever else across Liquid Death's company. So we've compiled our favorite quotes and principles, and we're going to do kind of like a speed round of back and forth, reading it out, quick thoughts, and move through just our favorite grounding thinking that we extracted from the Liquid Death team. So I'm going to let you kick it off here.
All right, I'm going to start because I had a lot of experience with this. The quote was about focus groups. And they said this: focus groups are the death of creativity. They're designed to find the safest, most average idea, and we're trying to do the opposite. Now, I just thought that is so, because you're right. Focus groups, in my experience, are a good way. I mean, they provide some good insights and stuff, but they're not very good at helping you make great decisions, because many times you're thinking outside the norm. It's kind of like Liquid Death in a focus group
Would have been
sunk real quick.
killed.
But it ended up being a great idea for various reasons. So anyway, I just thought that was a really interesting quote. Focus groups are the death of creativity. They're designed to find the safest, most average idea, and we're trying to do the opposite.
That's good. All right, our next one is hiring for a creator mindset. The company hires people who think like creators, not marketers. They look for individuals who have their own side projects, bands, or creative outlets, ensuring a culture that naturally generates entertaining ideas. So it's not pulling people in and teaching them to be creative. It's finding people who are already creative and bringing that team together and having that shared value of creator mindset.
Yeah, that's always been my experience. There are some things you need to hire for and other things you can train, and understanding the difference between those two is really important.
And they're super clear here.
Hiring for creator is something they need to hire for, not train to. Next one, I love this. Most brands are trying to rent your attention for 30 seconds. We're trying to create things that you will hopefully remember for the rest of your life. Isn't that interesting? And it's so true. I mean, most marketing out there, they're trying to rent your attention, and we want to fast forward through the ads because they're not. In fact, we're engaged in something that is entertaining, and then we fast forward through the ads because they're not. And I think what they were trying to do is create something that is just as entertaining as whatever you're watching, so it doesn't feel like you're getting cheated.
Yes.
During that 30 seconds.
I know you and Kevin will use the phrase, when you change the way you view things, it changes the way you do things. And it's when you just change your perspective on renting attention for 30 seconds versus creating a memory for a lifetime, it fundamentally changes what you do, not just how you see it. The quick piggyback on that was regarding their internal creative standard. You mentioned this in the last chapter, but calling it out as connected here, the idea must be good enough to legitimately find its way onto Saturday Night Live. As a way, like that's how you make something people remember for a long time. Our next insight though is, I love this. We think of our audience not as consumers, but a fan club. And you treat a fan club very differently than you treat a consumer base. 99.9% of companies have a consumer base.
Yes.
0.1 have a fan club, and that's why they have a cult following.
So true. And that was very true at Chick-fil-A. We say our marketing strategy was to create raving fans, not customers.
It's a raving fan strategy.
And, and it's like you took a group and said, here, go create some sales, and spend an hour brainstorming creating sales. Took another group, said, spend an hour creating raving fans. You'd come up with a completely different list.
Change the way you view things, change the way you do things. Also, back to our last chapter, a second call it Jesse Cole, fans first. Mentality.
All right, next one was, this is really insightful, I think. Data is a great tool for understanding what happened. It's a terrible tool for predicting what will happen with a truly new idea. I think this is where we get it wrong, because we so many times want to reduce business to numbers on a spreadsheet, and our financial people all want, the perfect prediction of the future through numbers. And, that's a great way to understand the past. It's a terrible way to understand what's going to happen in the future in many ways.
Our next one is sell an identity, not a beverage. People for Liquid Death aren't buying water. They are buying a badge of identity. The can of Liquid Death signals that you're part of a tribe that gets the joke, stands against corporate conformity, and doesn't take itself too seriously. This emotional connection is the brand's true moat. And I love your definition of a brand, the degree of emotional connection that exists between a person and a product or a company. And this is designing for that emotional connection.
Mm. Now, in the spirit of Liquid Death and the way they view things in the extreme, this next one feels a little extreme, even to me, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because maybe it will stretch our thinking. They say confusion is an interesting marketing tool. If people are confused, they talk about it. There were some things they did when we get to the next session with the ads and show you that.
Yeah.
There were some things they did that were intentionally confusing because they wanted people to talk about it, and it gets people more engaged.
Yes.
It gets people more, thinking and more deeply instead of that superficial 30 seconds of rental time.
Yes.
It like draws them in.
Our next one is, and this is so short, but it's so good. Risk is the price of admission for relevance. Like you don't get relevance without putting something out there and risking it.
This next one I can personally relate to. Many times in marketing, the legal team is the one that shuts things down, but part of that is the marketer's fault. It's my fault, whatever. So what the quote here was, our legal team is part of the creative process. We bring them in early to figure out how we can do the crazy thing, not to tell us what we can't do. I thought that's brilliant. It's like bring them in early instead of coming up with these crazy ideas. They got no context. They didn't say, and now the job of an attorney is to protect the organization, and so many times they shut things down. But I think involving them in the process to tell us how we can do it, not how we can't, or not what we can't do.
And
Really
that,
good
that
idea.
shift, it moves them into almost like co-creator role. They're no longer a constraint or a limitation on the creativity. They are the filter for great idea. How do we do this in a way that's permissible?
Yes.
This simple shift in perspective, wildly different change in execution. Our next one is a 1B to one of the ones we just shared. It's talking about the cult as business strategy. And it says, the goal is to create a cult of super fans, or for Chick-fil-A, raving fans. While this sounds extreme, it's a strategic decision to focus on creating deep emotional connections with a smaller group rather than shallow connections with a massive one. If this doesn't scream the Airbnb episode, Brian Chesky, Paul Graham, better to have 100 people that love you than a million people that kind of like you. I don't know what does. Deep connection, small group of people, rather than shallow connections, massive one. This is like the paradox of scale. Focus on getting people to love you. They'll be the mouthpiece that scales for you.
Another interesting quote, again, that I could personally relate to is that a brand is a shortcut for a decision. We want Liquid Death to be the shortcut for the fun, healthy choice. But I have always thought of a brand, even a brand like a Nike swoosh, that's like a shorthand for a whole lot of things that are, beyond that. But you need this iconic logo or whatever, but really what it is, pregnant with meaning, of all these things. So thinking of a brand as a shortcut for decision-making, I think is a great insight that helps a lot.
This next one's going to reinforce one that you shared a second ago, but I love the phrase here, data informed, not data driven. So the company uses data, and the company as in Liquid Death, uses data extensively to understand its customers and optimize its operations. However, they are careful to not let data dictate creative decisions, believing that the biggest, most disruptive ideas can't be proven in a spreadsheet. So it's not kill data. It's a valuable input in a lot of their business. It's just not going to be a constraint on the creative process.
This next one speaks to the fact, I think the greatest marketers are playing chess, not checkers. When you think of playing checkers, you're playing one move at a time. But chess, you got to think several moves at a time. So the quote was, we're not trying to make an ad. We're trying to make a headline. I think a lot of their ads were not like the end in and of themselves. It's a stimulus for people to respond to that creates a much broader impact. And so when they made their ads, they're always thinking, what's the headline that's going to come as a result of this ad? And we'll get into some of those in a minute, but I think it's a really great way to think about the domino effect of what you're doing instead of just the immediate impact of what you're doing.
And the implication here leads into the next one. It says, the most expensive thing a brand can do is be boring. The most expensive thing a brand can do is be boring.
That's
That
So
that
good.
dog will hunt.
Next thing, and this kind of builds on some of the things we talked about earlier with the raving fans, but the audience is part of the marketing department.
Mm.
We just give them the ammunition. So it's that raving fans, but it's kind of the raving fans idea taken to the next level. It's like part of what we had to do. We used to talk about at Chick-fil-A, we wanted to be remarkable.
Mm.
Another way to think about it is we wanted to be remarkable. How did we make ourselves remarkable? And part of what we need to do is do things on a daily basis that would enable our customers to talk about us on social media in a positive way. And I think thinking about it that way and thinking about the audience being part of the market, an extension, and how are we arming them with the things to do that job well.
Mm. I'm gonna let you take us home.
All right. Closely related, the best ideas are the ones that have a built-in PR angle. We think about the headline before we even do the shoot.
Mm.
Headline
Headline backwards.
Yes. And I believe we got one more that, a couple more after this. So in-store marketing is entertainment. I found this to be very, very
This is a good one. Yes.
So many times we think about shelves, it's just shelves. It's inventory. You're putting the inventory on the shelf, hope people pick it, pick your product. But they thought about the in-store marketing as entertainment. So for example, the brand's in-store displays are designed to be as disruptive as their ads.
Mm.
They've created things like a cooler coffin to hold the cans. Can you picture walking down a grocery? There's a coffin with the cans in it, for liquid death, and to the point we were just making, turning a simple retail display into another piece of shareable content. Because part of the reason they do that is not just to get your attention. They know people are going to take pictures of it and share it. So now you've enabled your audience and your raving fans to kind of be your ambassador. But they think through that second effect, kind of second.
So frequently, marketing and operations live in siloed isolation. And I just love when you think about it this way, like the guest experience, that in-store experience is that moment where like marketing and operations kiss. It's like that interaction moment where there's sparks that really impact, hopefully a fan if we're thinking about it that way, but a consumer.
Next quote that I found it says, the brand is a reflection of the people who work here. We hire interesting people and they make an interesting brand. It's again, like we talked about earlier, there are certain things you got to hire for and other things you can train. And a closely related quote was, the company prioritizes hiring creatives, this is specific to the creative department, who have backgrounds in entertainment, music, and art, not just traditional consumer packaged goods marketing. Again, most people in the marketing department, they look for people with experience in consumer packaged goods because that's what we're selling, but they're looking way beyond that. They're looking for people who are just in the entertainment business and have that kind of background. So this ensures that brand as a character philosophy is maintained. Here was a really interesting aspect to it that was a bit of a surprise to me. They take an apolitical stance. It says, despite its rebellious image, the brand has been strategically apolitical, meaning they don't take a side in politics. Its rebellion is aimed at corporate marketing and cultural norms, not partisan politics, which allows it to maintain a broader appeal. I thought that's an interesting.
That was
You would think of this
fascinating.
rebellious brand as kind of taking a stand politically, but they specifically avoid that. I guess they're creating enough, I don't want to say enemies, but they're creating enough people who oppose what they're doing that they don't need to add politics to it, and they don't need to. It's like their rebellion is against corporate marketing and cultural norms, and they stick to that.
As much as they are absurd, they are strategically grounded.
Yes.
You see that play out there.
We're about to get into some of the actual favorite ads that you and I saw. A lot of those have to do with the Super Bowl. So I found this last quote to be very interesting. It says, why would we spend $7 million to be one of 60 brands yelling at people for 30 seconds? Our goal was to hack the Super Bowl, not just participate in it. So I think we'll see that here in just a minute. And maybe just a closing quote that was kind of interesting to me is it says, we're not afraid of backlash. We're afraid of being ignored.
I mean, that doesn't sum up their brand. I don't
Yeah.
know what does.
Yeah.
All right. Those are leading insights, quotes, principles. We're about to jump into some of our favorite creative executions from Liquid Death over the years. Next chapter.